Thanks for taking an interest in our show. It's great to talk to you.
I love the comedic take. You're the writer in the series, and Ryan Reynolds gets to narrate all your magical words.
I mean, I can't take all the credit. I think writing for Ryan, I mean, no one says no to that, right? That is an amazing opportunity. But the thing is, you never really write for Ryan. It's more like throwing balls out for him to knock them out of the park. You provide some source material, but then he puts so much on top of that. And we work really closely with his amazing team at Maximum Effort, and they have some writers too, Kathleen and Pierce, that they brought on. But there's the script on paper, and then there's what Ryan adds to it, and all the riffing that he does. And he is just a masterclass in sort of improv comedy.
Yes, and I love how it brings like these natural heroes, wildlife heroes that I mean, they deserve so much credit. And here, the way it's narrated gives it all the credit.
Gives all the credit to the wildlife.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they are the stars of the show. And I mean, sort of the combination of them and Ryan, you've got sort of the very best of wildlife, top comedy talent married together. Yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Tell me about getting to write for those very intimate, personal moments that they have. And just how did you inspire putting it all together?
I think what we're trying to do, so it's all based in science. And of course, this is Nat Geo. So all our stuff is meticulously researched and we have scientists with us on location. But the thing that I connect with the animals, it's the human connection. So we've got a whole wide range of animal stories and a whole load of very different episodes, but they all touch on themes that are universal, themes that are relatable, things like parenting, things like, we don't necessarily follow all the tips from the underdogs and how to be a great parent, and things like dating and seeking the perfect partner and how to impress the partner. These are all things that are quite universal. And so I think you draw on your personal experience and you draw on kind of all cinema and all storytelling ever. Underdog stories are fundamental to human storytelling, from sort of Shakespeare to Star Wars. Everybody loves an underdog story and everybody can connect to an underdog at some point in their lives. And I think it's finding those moments, it's seeing those facial, like little moments of facial expressions, like the proboscis monkey that sort of looks a bit awkward and he looks down at his penis and wonders if the girl is going to choose him. And we can all look at that and think, I've been there.
Yes. Can we talk a little bit about episode one, since people are going to be watching episode one and two on June 15th? One of my highlights I have to talk about is Barry, the honey badger.
Mine too.
Tell me about him. And I love how in the series he keeps kind of coming around. I love it.
Yeah, so that was the thing we hit on in the edit. The one that you see was edited first, as well as being broadcast first, Super Zeros. And Barry was one of the first things that we cut. And I think the team had gone out on location knowing that they wanted to film this superpower of his incredible invincibility and knowing how tough they are. But capturing the wild dog attack, that is something that wildlife filmmakers, if you set out to try and film that, you could wait a lifetime. And this thing happened in front of them. And Barry gets away at the end. And so when the sequence started to come together and we had the amazing commercial music, we had the Billie Eilish track, it was just a favorite of everybody's. And everybody kind of connected to Barry. So then we had this idea, we always have material that we don't use. We always have stuff that's left over on the cutting room floor. And we thought, how great. But he became a kind of mascot for the series. And we thought, well, let's try and get him into all the other episodes. So it's a fun Easter egg for people to see if they can spot him in every episode.
Yes, he's in the Super Zeros episode. And yeah, that was some action for his 7-day moment highlight in the series. How did you come up with the names?
That's a good question. They don't all have names. I think in Super Zeros, most of them have names. Eric the glass frog and Barry the honey badger. I think in other episodes like Sexy Beast, we call the proboscis monkey Little Nose because actually she's got quite a big nose, but it turns out that some other characters have even bigger noses, and that's a key part of the narrative. We wanted to make them relatable to people. And I think there's something quite funny about giving an animal a given name, maybe of some old uncle that you have or something. Also, some of the names belonged to Ryan's kids as well. So Olin the meerkat um, was Ryan's choice for a name.
Oh, that is so cute. And then episode two, the terrible parents, even the wildlife don't have it together. We just got to figure it out on their own.
That's right, and that's the kind of key message of that show. It's sort of a tongue-in-cheek parenting guide. We found all this amazing, genuine, authentic old black and white archive for that episode because, as you see, if you watch multiple episodes, there is no format for this series. You don't watch one and then two, three, and four kind of follow the same formats. Each one has a unique flavor that comes across in its cutting style and its choice of music and its choice of graphics in some cases. And this was the sort of had all this amazing 50s archive that we loved about parenting and how to do it well. And Larry is sort of unbelievable, and yet he kind of gets there in the end. And Ryan's obviously very rich in the stuff that he does and his online presence and things with parenting stuff. He talks a lot about his experience of being a parent and his successes and failings. So we knew it would be kind of rich territory for him. But Larry is one of my favorites. But I mean, amazingly captured by the team. A real, it looks kind of easy and fun and frivolous, but the lengths they go to capture that footage and the time they spend in quite hostile environments, is exceptional. But he gets there in the end, and I think it's one survives, and we say, well, 1 out of 4 isn't bad. It's not a complete failure. It's okay, Larry, you're doing all right. And we want, we all feel like that as parents sometimes.
Oh my gosh, that was suspenseful for that baby chick.
Yeah, the fall at
Yes.
the end. Yeah, and it just goes on and on and on.
It's like the baby chick is falling through the different seasons, and at the end, it's snow.
Yeah, yeah, you can't believe how long it goes on for. And then there's that moment of suspense where he hits the deck and you think, oh, is he going to be okay? Is he going to get up? Is he going to shake it off? And the geese have incredible facial expressions. You're always looking to connect with the animal. And I think that's usually much easier with mammals. And I think with birds in natural history, they're often less popular stories because birds, they don't have the same eyes as us. It's harder to look at a bird's facial expression and kind of gather something from that. And yet, I think Larry's brilliant. Some of his little looks where he kind of looks guilty or, he flies off when he's meant to be staying back and manning the nest. I kind of really connected to him as a character.
I love it. I'm sure that also helps you, right, as to writing the story.
It does. It's looking for those little moments where you can relate to the animal and still telling their sort of true scientific story, but kind of drawing out the things that are universal truths that all people can hopefully relate to. I
Yeah.
think it's interesting to know which colleagues relate to which animals.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, I cannot relate to the terrible parents. I don't have kids, but I do have cats, so I mean, kind of relatable. But the one we can all relate to is the sexy beast. We have to flaunt what we've got.
Oh
Otherwise,
yeah, Flaunt Your Assets is the title of one of the sequences. Yeah, again, it kind of once you hit on that theme for the episode, so we knew we wanted to make an episode about mating because it's obviously rich territory for comedy. It's obviously rich territory for relatable stories that humans can relate to. We know there's loads of crazy, most of the most crazy behaviors that the animal kingdom does is all related to attracting a mate. It's the reason a peacock has its tail. It's the reason a lion has its mane. There's loads of crazy stuff that goes on out there. And actually, some of our stories are stories that have been filmed for natural history before. So the bowerbird with his collectibles, that's a story that, I've seen on natural history before, but I've never seen it told in an Underdogs way before. Sebastian with his collectibles, once we hit on that idea that he's a sort of have a go guy who lives in a slightly run down part of town and he just does not understand why the females don't appreciate his lovingly gathered collection of trash and his little bottle tops. And when they're in the wild, they collect berries and leaves and brightly colored things. But when they often live in sort of semi-urban environments and they gather trash and sort of colorful things that we leave lying around. And he just, once we hit on that idea that he was a sort of nerd with his collectibles collection, that then informed the graphics that we used and the music that Harry Gregson Williams put on it. And he just came to life. And he expanded actually in the edit from being a fairly small part, again, like I was saying about birds being sometimes a tougher sell for natural history, into being quite a weighty character that held his own in the show. And he's one of my favorites.
Well, and you already touched about the nose. I mean, I guess size can matter in some aspects.
I couldn't possibly comment. I was chatting to the team yesterday about which animal we all most related to, and I was sort of saying, because most of my favorites are actually male characters, and I was thinking, well, should I choose a female character? Because, we have a split across the series, and they said, oh, what about the proboscis monkey? And I thought, yeah, maybe. Don't know if I can comment. Actually, the character I connect to the most in that episode is Happy the hyena, because I love him, and he goes on this journey because he's a returning character, and we set him up at the start and then we follow his progress, and he's just a first timer in love, and he's so naive, and he sees this beautiful woman, and of course hyenas are so incredibly intimidating because the females are so dominant. And I've written about hyenas before because I worked for Wildstar on Queens, which talked about female dominance in the animal kingdom and followed hyenas. And there's this footage of them ripping apart a carcass, and he just looks at her and thinks she's the one, but then he's mystified when she rejects him, and he has to put in the effort and sort of follow her. That became the story when the team were on location, because they set out to make it a female-led story, because of all the science about female dominance. But actually, when they saw the footage of this male in the rain following this female, dejectedly for weeks and weeks and weeks, that became the story, and he became the character. And then, of course, it culminates in a Michael Bolton montage, which we love, which I don't think I can confidently say has not been done in natural history TV before. And you get to find out whether or not Happy gets his happy ending at the end.
You took my question away. I was going to ask you when you cover all these like documentaries about the wildlife, like which one would you want to be? But yeah, definitely.
I think who you want to be and who you actually are aren't always the same thing. I think I might quite like to be Barry because he's super tough and he doesn't care. Probably I'm more of a Happy.
Yeah. No, I'm a Barry. I'm like, I want to be Barry. I want to just not give a fuck. Just be and do, and you'd be surprised about how much you can do.
Yeah, there's one here actually. This is our Barry mascot.
Oh, I love it. And then there's also the Unusual Suspects and Total Gross Out, which I'm really excited to watch still. I left a little bit so I can continue enjoying this. Can you talk about what we'll be seeing for those two episodes?
I can. So The Unusual Suspects is my favorite episode. I think from a writer's point of view, it's the one that's the most fun. It's the one that's the most different. So it's all based around a heist, and like I was saying earlier, all of the episodes have very different, strong flavors. And in this one, Ryan is not strictly being Ryan. Ryan at the start is actually voicing a macaque monkey in Bali. And this macaque monkey turns out to be the criminal mastermind who is assembling a gang of criminal animals to pull off a heist at the end. And again, it's a natural history story that has been filmed before in a very conventional way. Ours is anything but conventional. It's wildlife, but much wilder. And he's got some really great lines because so Ryan's in a slightly more performative acting role there, and the monkey has a lot of sort of great one-liners, and he knows this cast of other characters, and then all the other characters are deviant animals that all have a special piece of animal behavior that kind of resembles all the heist tropes that we're familiar with from movies and TV. So there's a sort of counterfeiter, there's a fall guy who takes the fall when they get into trouble with a lion. There's a sort of disguise expert, a fish that can change its colors when it wants to blend into the background and be incognito. And there's a rough male that masquerades as a female all through the breeding season. It's got female plumage so that it can go under the radar and sneak behind the back of all the other males who are all fighting with their big fluffy feathers and actually mate with the females without anybody else noticing. And then the monkey comes back right at the end. There's a little twist, as there always is in a heist film, where there was something you missed the first time, and actually this criminal mastermind monkey has got one up on everyone because they steal humans' belongings and they trade them for food. But most monkeys steal small things like glasses and hats. And I won't give you any spoilers if you're yet to see it, but he's stealing a much bigger prize.
Wow, I can't wait to see this action unfold.
It was really fun to write. It was really fun to write, to put those words into Ryan's mouth. and to play to his strengths and, have fun with all the heist tropes because it's something, that the audience recognize and we've all watched heist films. And I think Harry really nailed the score as well with those sort of heisty music that we love.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Polly. You know what? I love this spin, and I hope there's more of this to come because I mean this attracts those people that usually don't typically watch Nat Geo. I watch Nat Geo everything, but there's a group that's kind of like, oh, it's they have different point of view of it. So this is gonna pull in all sorts of ages.
That's really, really what we're going for. We all love natural history, it's where we've come from, but Ryan brings a huge, huge audience and a whole load of people, especially young people. There's a lot of disconnection of young people from nature. We hope that we bring a whole new audience to Nat Geo and to the natural world, and we give them these relatable characters that they can see a little bit of themselves in. Nature is an underdog right now. If we can get people to root for those characters and punch the air when they succeed, then I think we're winning at something.
Yes, drop your phone and just watch.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Of course, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Barry fans.
Yeah, yeah, maybe we need some merch or something. I don't know. We have to talk to Nat Geo about that.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Polly, again, and congratulations.
My pleasure, Nancy. It's great to talk to you.
Likewise, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Of course.